So, I had the audacity to watch all 8 seasons of Game of Freaking Thrones in 2.5 weeks. And if you have seen that show, then you know that I am not okay, and you know why. Literally, in 2.5 weeks, I have seen twins engage in a relationship that no sibling should ever engage in. I have seen newborn babies sacrificed to zombie like creatures. I have seen a sweet little girl burned at the stake for no reason at all. I have seen one of my favorite characters almost die in battle, only to not die in that battle, only to die, only to come back to life, and no one has any questions. It's just a day in the life of a Game of Thrones fan. This show is so dark and terrible and horrible, but amazing. I have never seen a show that was so well written, so well produced, so well acted to have the worst finale I have ever seen in the history of television. I've just never seen a finale that was this bad. Before I get into what I took issue with about the finale, let me tell you what I thought was going to happen. I thought that all 7 kingdoms would unite and fight the White Walkers, and I thought the Night King would be the ultimate villain of the show. Now, because I had been watching Game of Thrones for 8 seasons at this point, I didn't think for a second it was going to be a happy ending for this series. That's not how it works. I was expecting the Night King and the White Walkers to win the war, and I thought we were going to see all of our favorite characters slaughtered, because that's how they get down on Game of Thrones. I honestly would have preferred seeing all of my favorite characters get slaughtered than to see Brandon be named the king. Brandon had been useless for the majority of the series. I can see if they would have written for Bran to kill the Night King because he had visions on how to kill the Night King and he actually executed that, then okay, I'd be fine with Bran being named the king. But Bran didn't do anything. He spent most of the series in a fugue state, but when he came out of his fugue state, it wasn't like he was providing intel on how to kill the Night King. He didn't do anything. I mean, the only thing that Brandon did was go back in time to get in his aunt's business and expose what she was doing and who she did it with, to tell that Jon wasn't a Stark, that he was a Targaryen, which if Jon Snow was not going to end up on the Iron Throne, that was useless information. It was very self-serving for Brandon because that means he is literally the only male heir of Ned Stark. So, run him his inheritance, whatever monies, whatever lands that Ned Stark may have had, he would be the rightful heir to it. So that was very self-serving of Brandon to provide that information. But outside of that, it was pointless information to even expose that Jon was a Targaryen. Also, I feel like it was fine to name Sansa the Queen of the North if Arya had been at least offered the title first. Because Arya actually fought in the Great War, because Arya actually killed the Night King, she should have been at least offered the position as the queen. And if Arya, who most likely would not have wanted the title, had she declined it and then nominated Sansa for Queen of the North, I would have been okay with that. Because while Arya was fighting, Sansa was hiding in a crypt. So, you know, Arya deserved to be queen. It also didn't make sense to me why the producers would wait to the last 2 episodes of the entire series to change the core qualities of characters. For example, you wait to the last minute to make Daenerys the villain. Like, Daenerys hasn't been a villain the entire series, so why are we waiting to the last 2 episodes and try to make Daenerys the villain? Why in the last episode, after Jon Snow has been an honorable character this whole entire time, he is honorable to a fault, and in the 11th hour you make Jon dishonorable and dishonorably kill Daenerys? It didn't make any sense to me. Tyrion had been so funny and so clever. Tyrion was one of my favorite characters. After Tyrion slapped Joffrey, I'm like, Tyrion is a man after my own heart because he gets it. So to have Tyrion not even funny, the last few episodes, Tyrion wasn't funny. He wasn't like himself at all. And I'm like, why are we changing the core of these characters in the last 2 episodes? Like, make it make sense. I was watching this finale thinking, we have watched 7 seasons of people fighting and getting beheaded and just being killed and children being burned at the stake over the Iron Throne. And all of a sudden, Tyrion can just casually nominate Brandon as the king and everybody's okay with it. Brandon assumes the responsibility as king and then grants Sansa her request to have the North be independent. And I'm like, nobody else wants to be independent. Everybody else is okay with kneeling to Brandon, but the North is independent now, just real casually. Nobody's gonna fight. That's crazy. It doesn't make sense in the context of the show. So Brandon can grant Sansa's request for the North to be independent, but Brandon could not pardon Jon. I'm confused. If Brandon had all this power, why couldn't he just pardon Jon instead of sending Jon to the wall like he's on punishment for killing Daenerys when Jon didn't even want to kill Daenerys? Tyrion could have killed Daenerys. He's the one that was talking Jon into doing it. I'm like, why didn't they just let Tyrion kill Daenerys? It's not like Tyrion is not a killer. He killed his own father. He could have killed Daenerys instead of Jon.